All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Ron Rosmann. Ron and his wife, Maria, and their two kids, David and Daniel, they own this farm, Rosmann Family Farm, in Harlan, in Western Iowa. Their, their farm is comprised of 700 acres, where they stopped using any pesticide after 1983. And specifically, they were organic certified since 1994. Their third son, he works for the Foreign Agriculture Service as a foreign service officer near my hometown in New Delhi, India. On their farm, they have been raising a very diversified organic crop and livestock farm where they grow more than 15 crops every year. They also have a cow-calf operation, a fruit-to-finish hog operation, and egg layer operation. They also have a store on the farm and a local restaurant in Harlan. So if you ever go there, please visit it. It's called Milk and Honey Restaurant. And they have a table procurement and delivery business in Harlan. Few of the achievements for the Ron are comprised of Ron helped to start Practical Farmers in Iowa in 1986. He has completed more than 40 on-farm research trials with Practical Farmers of Iowa. He was on the board of Organic Farming Research Foundation in Santa Cruz, California for 7 years and National Catholic Rural Life in St. Paul, Minnesota for 6 years. Currently, he is a member of Subcommittee on Climate and Farming Resiliency for the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition in Washington, D.C. Recently, Ron and Maria were honored as 2020 Iowa Master Farmers by the Wallace Farmer. Please join me in welcoming Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. It's a pleasure to be speaking to all of you. I guess I won't be able to see the participants. Is that right, Ram? Or
Yeah.
okay. Okay. No, that's, this is the first time I've given a presentation with a PowerPoint on Zoom. So I've been on a lot of Zoom calls, so this is a first. And usually the participants only number about, less than 15. So that's where you get to see everybody, which is kind of nice, but I understand.
Ron, you should be able to see us.
Oh, what am I doing here?
Can everybody please
I can see you, Kendall, and
okay. And
yeah,
maybe.
And
there's
Ram.
Kathleen waving now. So
it's just you guys I can see, correct?
Okay, yeah. Not everybody has their video on, so we could.
Gotcha. That's fine.
We can leave it on, so it looks like it's kind of good to talk to an audience, right? So I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry, Ram.
No, that's fine.
So now everybody has turned on their video. So, Ron, if on a box, that's where you see our pictures. On the top right,
yes.
You see little grids.
Yes.
If you click on that, you'll be able to see more people.
Oh, click on the 3 dots.
Yeah, the many dots.
And then what? And what do I pin spotlight video or pin video?
No. Okay, I will remote.
I am not.
Okay, let me see if I can control your screen from here.
Ram, I think you should try to control his screen and do the function.
Yeah.
I see Prajant.
Yep.
I see you.
So I sent you a request. If you accept it.
Yes.
You
Yes,
did you
I
accept?
did.
Okay.
Yes, I
So
did.
okay, I will. Now you see more people.
Just Prashant, if I pronounce that right.
Let's see.
Oh, wait a minute here. I can scroll down. No, no. Oh,
I think I'm still using my screen. I'm not into your screen. You can control your son. Now I'm in.
otherwise it,
No, I think I can. I'm on your
and we
screen, right?
can, yes. But
Now
I'm
it's
good with just the way it is if it's too much hassle.
When we ask questions, you can probably see us, Ron.
Okay, let's just go ahead and get started, I think, right? In the interest of time. I hear the little baby, so.
they must be Prashant. I don't know.
Okay, should I just get started?
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of. Well, I've done this presentation called Resilient Farming Systems in the Face of Climate Change probably 6 or 7 times, mostly in 2018 and 2019 before COVID, of course. But I've been able to do it all over the country, which has been kind of cool. So I've tried to improve it all the time. And this was from the PFI conference last winter, which is the last in-person meeting that I've done. That was in January of this year. So anyway, I've become much more interested in climate change and how we can improve our on-farm resiliency to changes in weather. And it's something I, of course, never used to think about. But now climate change and its effects are something that I think about just about every day. And so I spend quite a bit of time thinking about how can we improve our farm, be more resilient to what's already happened and to what may or will happen down the road. So that's what this slideshow has to do with. And you'll have to bear with me because this next slide is, you're probably going to wonder, why did he put it in? But I do it because I've noticed when I give this presentation, at least to lay people who are not science oriented, they just don't really know that photosynthesis and respiration tells us so much about climate change. So I put it in there for that reason. And this is where I have to go back to my training at Iowa State University in biology. That's what my degree was in. And I was really impressed with that program because I started learning conceptual learning, you know, the cycles of life, so to speak, whether it's the carbon cycle, et cetera, you know, photosynthesis, respiration. So that's why I put that in, because of all this CO2 that is either, it's a byproduct either of cellular respiration and the burning of fossilized plants for our energy use. So that's why I put this in. And then, of course, where are these CO2 emissions coming from? And some of this is kind of changing as time goes on. It's obviously, well, you can see obviously, that, and we all know this, that the largest one has always been from the burning of fossil fuels for 400 years now. But the one down there on agriculture, I've seen estimates from 9% all the way up to in the 20s. In other words, the estimates vary, which I think is kind of interesting because what are they basing these estimates on? I still have that question myself. I'm not sure myself whether it's just on, well, you got to figure transportation, you got to figure storage, you got to figure the cost of inputs. Where is that estimate that agriculture contributes to CO2? Where's that really coming from? Of course, that one methane there at 16%, that's something that I'll talk a little bit more about. I put this one in here because I've learned so much in myself in terms of learning about climate and CO2 and what accounts for what in the atmosphere. And it's very interesting that, you know, that water vapor there makes up 75% water vapor and clouds, 75% of our atmosphere, but it quickly precipitates out and would turn us into ice unless it didn't do that. CO2 there, you can see only accounts for about 20% of the greenhouse gas effect. So it's a balance of that absorption that keeps us from turning into an icy state after the sun goes down, actually. And then the CO2 amounts there, just for historical purposes, you know, today we're up to 415. And this is, I know it's higher than that right now. This was like a year or two ago already, or over a year. And we used to talk about 350 being the point we were going to run into trouble. But now you can see we've gone beyond that. So how's the weather changing in Western Iowa? I put this in because this has got to be designed for, mostly for a farming audience is how I prepared this, because we're the ones that have to deal with how the weather is changing, at least in terms of an ongoing basis every day. So the highlights of this are not anything surprising to us now. We've got more extreme weather and precipitation events. We're warmer and wetter overall. At least we were up until this year on the wetter part. Seems like we've had cold, wet springs for about, in general, for well over a decade. And this spring was kind of highly variable again. Parts of it were cold, parts of it were wet, and parts of it were hot and sort of dry. But then another thing that is going on is we have warmer nights and winters. And I don't see that one going very much unless we get these polar vortexes or plunges, you know, and it stays with us. That's certainly a possibility. And then up until this year, we've had increased summer precipitation. We've got longer growing seasons by about, I think the average frost is 4 to 5 days later now, but the average killing frost is usually a lot later. Now, the last 2 years here, it's improved, and I say improved because I wanted to have a killing frost before November 1st so that I can turn cattle out into our legumes. And then another interesting one is that there's actually less 100-degree days. And that has to do, at least with what I've read, has to do with more evaporative cooling at night, due to, a lot of it is due to so much corn that keeps the ground moist, and we don't have as many 100-degree days because of that, because of more humidity and less sunlight hitting the ground, which I think is very interesting. But now, you know, this year, this thing of warmer and wetter is kind of up for grabs, and some people think we're just in the start of a much drier cycle, partly due to La Nina, maybe, but also maybe due to, you know, I see a lot of variation. Some people think the climate dryness is moving further east, and that eastern Nebraska will be the kind of the average place where at least for now the really dry weather is going to stop for now. I don't know if that's true. I'll keep moving here. I really want to talk about these principles of resiliency and why we farm. This is why we farm the way we do. This is what and these have changed a lot as the years have gone by, but we keep, you know, questioning and in trying to improve on sustainability. So what have we learned? And kind of really one of the top one there is one of the most important, because those ecosystem services, they're kind of for free, you know. And so we try to let Mother Nature do most of the heavy lifting in terms of diseases, pests, whether it's fungus or weeds or insects. We do that based on diversity and different crop rotations and sequences. And I'll explain that as we go along. This is all stuff I think you people know. It's just that we're maybe doing more than the average farmer in some respects, but we keep needing to do more. So we've become much more interested in sequestering carbon. I put in community-based because we have a responsibility to our community here. That's why we now have an on-farm store that we sell most of, or not most of, but our biggest customer base for our beef, pork, and popcorn and eggs is right here in Shelby County now, our home county. And that was our goal. So, of course, you got to have economic stability. That's pretty hard to do in conventional agriculture. We try to do it through adding value for organic agriculture, and it's treated us well in the sense that we have 3 families who are getting most of their financial support or year livelihood from farming alone. We only have 1 person working off the farm. Well, Daniel's wife, Ellen, is now head of the school lunch program in Shelby County, but she's also still has the food hub. So that's sort of off the farm, but the only one truly off the farm is David's wife, Becky, who is a clinical psychologist at Creighton. The rest of us are all on the farm. So science means everything to us, on-farm research, and to try to answer the questions of how to do this and how to keep improving. I put that in there, being content with what we have, because we don't want to keep grabbing more land from our neighbors, I guess. We've got enough, can't do what we're doing. So, of course, soil quality, huge. And that's one that we obviously have a lot to learn yet, all of us. And I think that's probably true for agronomy students and faculty as well as farmers. So these other ones are just ways of how we do it, and I'll keep moving. So this is what we try to do on our farm. On the 700 acres, we have over 50 fields. And we set these fields up according to contours and grass waterways, and whether we can have headlands on them and turn strips. We have headlands, of course, along the conventional neighbors. But we plant around 15 different species every year in terms of whether it's cover crops, legumes and grasses, and so on and so forth. So as far as, you know, the goal is we're trying to keep the ground covered as much of the year as possible. But that also helps us in resiliency in terms of we spread our risk out, of course. So, you know, we have these early spring annuals. One of the most interesting one there is we call it the succotash. That's where we grow oats, barley, wheat, and field peas together. And we do that because we get a feed that has, for hogs, we've cut our protein down by 50% by growing succotash, because the peas have about 22% protein in them. So it becomes a very good feed for all species of livestock, but especially the hogs for the proteins. And then we grow oats separately, but we always, well, I'll get into that. We don't always put a legume under it. Sometimes we don't plant anything because we're going to plant different cover crops as soon as we harvest the oats. Then we got the late spring annuals like corn and soy. And I should say from the onset that we are still ridge tillers, which is something we learned from Dick Thompson, who started PFI. We're one of the few organic farmers that does ridge till still, but we like it because it's a compromise between complete no-till, maybe where you have to use some pesticides, and we're able to be more no-till with our ridges. And our on-farm research has demonstrated for off and on for 4 different trials over 20 years that we've always had 5 to 7 times less weeds where we use ridge till versus where we did any conventional tillage of disking. Of course, we have a goal to do more complete no-till organic. I'll maybe speak a little bit more about what we've done and what we're thinking about later on here. Controlling weeds without pesticides. We've done a good job for the most part over since 1983 of no pesticides. That one comment down below there is becoming something that I'm quite interested in, and Ron and I were talking about it before we started, and that is collecting weed seeds out of the combine. So anyway, we're kind of taking the longer view there too, that crop rotations and curbing the spread of weed seeds could be a very valuable thing for conventional agriculture to decrease significantly the use of herbicides and to address the question of weed resistance. This was just one of the, and I threw this in, this was one of those trials in soybeans where we compared ridge till to conventional tillage. And you can, this is in 8-row strips across the entire length of the field. This was clear back in 2007. That's the last time we've done it because you don't see the need to do this trial anymore. But it's obvious there where the broadleaves are is where we had conventional tillage. Then we hand counted the weeds. And that's where we come up with those 5 to 7 times less weeds where we ridge tilled. Generally, ridge tillage gets rid of foxtail completely, generally. Broadleaves are usually the only weeds you deal with. The reason for that is the design of the buffalo planter and planting in loose ground where it's not, you don't have compaction, and foxtail loves and pigweeds love to grow where there's compaction. Of course, then we also do all these winter annuals to keep the ground covered, whether it's rye, regular rye, triticale. Now we've in our 3rd year of hybrid rye, where this year we got 95 bushel an acre on our hybrid rye. 95 bushel an acre. It's our 3rd year. We've gone from 85 the first year, last year 65, this year 95. But we've learned how to do it to get better yields, and that is to plant oats or a small grain and then plant the hybrid rye by September 15th. So that's how we do it. But in this particular trial, back in 2014, we cut this 6 to 7 foot tall regular rye, and then we no-tilled beans into it organically on June 13th. We ended up getting 30 bushel an acre. I was disappointed because the foxtail came up in August. I thought, you know, the weed seed is still out there, even though it didn't express itself through ridge till, but it expressed itself in August, and it ended up being quite a bit of foxtail, and it hurt our yield. But we still got 30 bushel an acre at $20 a bushel. We still got $600 an acre gross off of organic beans. And then we plant late summer annuals after these small grains, and we're always trying something different. We do a lot of turnips, do a lot of millet, which this year we baled for our cows here in September. And then I planted oats right after we baled the millet. And that oats was planted in around the 10th of October, and then we got cold, very cold weather. I didn't think it was going to come up, but now it's 3 inches tall because it got so warm again. So we've actually got, and then we also planted oats after where we chopped silage, and it's 8 inches tall because we planted that around September 20th. So we're always trying to keep the ground covered with something is the point. And then we take composting seriously. We bought a turner in 1983 that turns the compost. That's our oldest son, David, there. We usually produce 1,000 tons annually of finished compost. excuse me. We haven't purchased a pound of nitrogen since 1982. That's kind of remarkable. And we're getting really good yields. Just to show you this year, we have a trial with Kathleen Dellett on organic hybrids. The 4 hybrids we did ranged from 165 to 175, just harvested here last week in a very dry year. And we were pleased. And I think we could have done better had we had some better hybrids, actually. Some of our corn went, well, one hybrid went up close to 200. Anyway, the point is, I think getting back to that reduction of methane, I do quite a bit of writing. So I had an editorial in Iowa Farmer Today and the Des Moines Register both this spring on why we should be looking at moving to solid manure systems in hog confinements especially, because it could reduce that methane significantly in that liquid manure. And then you could have a source of nutrients that would really increase biological activity in your soil if we composted more manure. And we could reduce the smell of these confinements. The neighbors would be happy. But I don't know, we just need incentives to grow the small grains so that we can have the straw so they could use it in solid manure systems and then compost the manure. I just think it's a win-win solution to both methane and improving soil quality. Here's where we get all this manure from. We have around 50 sows. So we're producing, 800 pigs a year about organically. We built a hoop building in 2016. This just shows you a picture of we farrow in this building during the warmer months. And then we also have a deep bedding confinement system where we have large pens where all the sows always go in and out of. Nothing is confined in a crate, of course. We have to comply with not just organic standards, certified organic standards, but all our hogs are global animal partnership standards for animal welfare, which is called GAP, which is the Whole Foods certification. And we do that because what hogs, we probably sell 65 hogs a year through our own business. We sell the bulk of our cattle through our own business, which is around 50 head a year through our own business. We have a stock cow herd of about 90 cows. So the rest are either kept as replacements or we sell them to Organic Valley. And then the rest of the hogs we sell to Organic Valley, the co-op. Okay, here's something that I have a real passion for planting trees. I guess I almost majored in forestry. I thought about it strongly. So we have been planting trees now for over 40 years. And we have literally in the thousands on our farm. And I do it for so many different reasons. Here's some bur oak that we started along a fence line. Here's shrubs on a terrace. I do a lot of planting of shrubs and trees and fruit trees and hazelnuts and pear trees, and trying to get chestnuts started on the other side of this terrace. Anyway, for wildlife habitat, beneficial insects, I guess the point that I make is that we've never lost a crop to pests, never, in 37 years. I don't even see any yield reduction to pests. Years ago, I did a trial where we used BT for corn borer versus no BT, because the IPM measurements that we took said we should have put something on, so we put the BT on. But then when we did the yield measurements, there was no yield reduction, where there was no significant yield differences. So I contribute some of that always to the wildlife habitat and so forth, that the predators that we have. We don't kill the good bugs and the good predators by not, since we don't spray fungicides or insecticides or use any insecticides, etc. More trees, more shrubs, for pollinators too. Here's pollinator viburnum species. We do prairie grass strips. That's black cherry and white spruce and white pine. Just some pictures of our cows. That was last year in November, grazing the 4th crop of hay after it froze hard. Just a picture of some red Angus cattle. We use a lot of bedding, you can see, because we're creating compost. Okay. Adaptation to climate change versus how much can we mitigate? Well, I've read where it's claimed that agriculture could lower CO2 by as much as 150 parts per million. I don't know. That's a tough one. One thing that I don't have a slide on it, but I wanted to bring it up, is this University of Wisconsin long-term study shows that it's really hard to raise carbon levels in the soil. No-till's doing a good job at the 1 foot level, but not lower. What about the 3 foot level? I think it's actually been decreasing there. So it seems like the only way we can improve that is to plant more perennials. Well, how do you make a living in agriculture if you're going to plant perennials? Well, you can have pastures, of course, for grazing, but in the case of our farm, where we're so diverse, one thing I didn't say is of that 700 acres, about 350 acres is in corn and beans every year, because we need the feed, but we also need the cash crops, of at least when organic prices for corn and soybeans are high. They've come down quite a bit now. Organic corn is only $6.50 currently because of competition from other countries. Soybeans stay at that $18 to $20 range. That's been stable for over 10 years now. But corn has come down from $9 to $10 down to $6.50 over a period of the last 5-6 years. But anyway, getting back to that adaptation versus mitigation, even if we can lower it by 150 parts per million, because the permafrost is melting and you got all that biological activity going on there now with the bacteria, that's claimed to be that you could raise it by 150 parts per million. So how are we going to do this? There's so many challenges out there. Fear is certainly one of them. Fear of people that don't understand the science and that somehow think that we cannot change, and so we're just going to adapt to it, which I don't believe. I think we can mitigate as much as we can, because that requires, but it's going to require changes on the part of farmers and on the part of agricultural policy. I always like to say, in general, about climate change is how much suffering are we able to accept before we say enough is enough? You know, we simply can't keep going the way we have in denying that the climate is not causing a great deal of harm. That last point I put in only because I read this book that was very intriguing. It's called maybe some of you have heard of it. It's called The Eternal Frontier by Tim Flannery. I read it a few years back, but it's kind of a phenomenal book. It's an ecological history of North America and its peoples. And at the end of the book, he was talking about how so many climatologists think that if we get more moisture because of being warmer, and that happens at the poles, that eventually, if you get so much snow, the ground will be covered more with something white, and it's not going to melt as much over a period of time, and that is going to cause a rapid development of a new ice age over the next who knows how many years. He actually went out 1,000 years. I don't know. Anyway, it's interesting stuff. And at that, I'm going to quit because I think I don't even know what time it is. I'm at 1:47. So how are we doing?
We're good in terms of
I
time.
think, let me say a couple other points that I wrote
Yep.
down.
Mm-hmm.
And these are just, you can tell I'm a typical farmer when I say this. You saw that old tractor there for cultivating, an old 966. I have 4 of those things, no, 3 of them. They were all built in the 1970s. So right away, people would say, oh, he's an organic farmer. He can't make it because he's just got old equipment. He's not doing well. Or anyway, I do have 4 front wheel assist tractors. That I'd actually bought 2 new tractors in the last 15 years. And we are able to keep our equipment very much up to date all the way around, but it does take more equipment to be a diversified organic farmer because of hay production and livestock equipment and so on and so forth. We actually are using 8 tractors on a daily basis around here. Our combine has 5,150 hours on. It's an older model, 1660 Case IH, but I don't care. I keep fixing it for now. But yeah, we're going to update to a much newer combine that's going to it'll have to be used because I refuse to pay more. I refuse to pay more than 60 to 70,000 for a combine because I want to own the equipment too. I'm not leasing anything. We own all our equipment. And we have a lot of equipment, like I said. I just want to point that out because some people think organic farmers or hobby farmers or have small farms. We can serve as a model on our farm that you can scale organic up and have, I have you guys probably know, there's a lot of organic farmers in Iowa that are doing well over 1,000 acres. And most of them are just more row crop farmers and don't have livestock. But we think the livestock is what makes our farm so resilient. And, the fact that we can get these yields with no purchased nitrogen is pretty phenomenal. So, a couple other things.
Hey, Ron, we
I guess
also
that's
have
it.
some questions, some from our audience members. And so if audience members want to submit questions in the group chat, or if you're comfortable to unmute and ask. And I think we have one queued up, so please go ahead.
Hi, Ron. It's Kathleen. I don't know if you can see
Hi,
me.
Kathleen.
Hello. Excellent seminar. Thank you so much for taking the time to present it. I always learn
Thank you.
so much from you. We just had a Zoom call with OTA, Organic Trade Association, this morning, and
Sure.
their big question is how to get more people farming organically, because we need more supply, as you mentioned, that organic corn prices have been driven down by imports. So what would you say are the main reasons why folks aren't transitioning to organic, knowing you get higher returns? We have documented higher soil quality based on our long-term research in Greenfield, et cetera, et cetera. What are the factors that are?
Oh, it's complicated. The word fear there kind of says some of it. There's a lot of peer pressure to keep farming the way you are, because what are your neighbors going to think if you think outside the box? Fear of more weeds and pests, and well, there is a huge learning curve. We keep learning year after year. We're not saying we're perfect. Never will say that. We just keep trying to learn from our mistakes. But I guess afraid of more work. I have a passion for it. For me, the challenges and the thinking that it requires is what keeps me excited and interested in farming. I'm not just going through the motions. I love it. I love everything there is about farming. And now the goal of resiliency in the face of climate change motivates me even more. Fear of decreased yields, those kinds of things. But those fears are kind of unfounded if you're willing to make the plunge, I guess. So one thing that is really good is that we've noticed in PFI is that when farmers start planting cover crops and start coming to PFI meetings, boy, they become interested in much more. Oh, well, gee, I can do cover crops. And then now maybe I can do something else. This looks really interesting. But you got to have the farmers that are willing to become engaged, willing to do something other than just plant, spray, put the fertilizer on, combine,
Thank you.
Catherine Tyler wanted to ask you a question. Catherine, are you still there?
I just asked Ron.
Oh,
I think,
okay.
Glenn's up next.
Okay. Glenn, you can turn on your video and audio.
Good afternoon. Ron, thanks for sharing some
You bet.
very interesting stuff about your operation. Especially, I'm impressed with how long you've been doing this. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So you mentioned the word regenerative, and I've read a lot about regenerative agriculture, and one of the points that those practitioners or farmers make is that sustainable agriculture, if I can put that in quotes, is not good enough anymore, because conventional agriculture is losing soil at such a rate that we need to not sustain the status quo. We need to actually build soil. So can you quantify building soil on your operation over the years and decades that you've been using your cultivation and organic practices?
Yeah. You know, I'll admit it, this is where I don't have enough proof on the scientific basis. You know, our organic matter levels are not all that high. They're in that 3 to 5% range. And, you know, how do you build that? I was going to comment that we're trying to get away from that moldboard plowing even 1 year out of 7. I never described our rotation. I better do that. It's generally corn, beans, small grains, 2 years of hay, and then we used to moldboard plow. Well, now we've gone to the noble plow, which just undercuts it and lifts it up and leaves it set, leaves everything set, and then you plant into it. That's a huge plus. Now, NRCS did a study here way back in the late 90s that this is what they told me. It wasn't based on measurements, but they said, given your rotation and your headlands and your grass waterways and your ridge till and everything you do, cover crops, you are better than a corn, soybean, no-till, continuous corn, soybean, no-till farmer in terms of soil loss. That's what they told me. Now, Kathleen, you and Cindy Cambradella did this study on our farm, which was positive for us in terms of soil structure and soil, I remember water capacity, aggregate structure, but not long-term enough to know. I'm going to start going with Woods End Lab and Will Brenton out in Maine, because I went to a soil quality conference where he and I reconnected. And he's looking at some new and innovative soil quality indicators so I got to take soil samples yet this fall, and I'm going to send them to him. I am weak on that. I would love to know, for instance, or have you people start telling me how much CO2 am I really using up with trees? Well, I know the estimates on trees and stuff, but how much am I really using up on cover crops and this whole farm, total farm, with its different, trying to keep the ground covered all the time? Just exactly what are we doing by measurement? We're not there by any means. We haven't even started.
Ron's right, that data, I think it was a 3-year study we did with Cindy Cambradella, did all the soil analysis on his farm. If you go to the North Central SARE, Sustainable Ag and Research and Education site, it was a grant project funded by SARE. And if you Google Dellett or Cambradella, it'll probably come up. If you bug me about it or send me an email, Glenn, I can probably send you the exact data. But yeah, Ron has really high soil quality. He's very modest. He's got one of the best soils of organic farmers I work with. So I can always
see, here's
data.
I don't want to get into politics, but I will. You know, the some people in the Green New Deal say that some people, that we should get rid of all meat consumption and livestock. I say, what are you thinking in terms of CO2 and the value of rotational grazing in terms of sequestering more carbon, because the grass is repeatedly being eaten, then it grows back, then it's eaten, then it grows back, versus just having grass out there, which goes to seed, and you're not utilizing the grass for anything. I just have a hard time, but am I right? Does that use up more CO2? Is it significant, for instance? Is that significant enough to warrant my statement? I think it is, just by common sense, but I don't know that. We simply have to have the science to answer these kinds of questions, I think. But if we got to be willing to widen our thinking, and this is where, yes, it becomes political in the sense of ag political, because I say no-till and cover crops, with its still dependence on sometimes even more chemicals because of that extra spraying. I say that's not going to solve our climate crisis. No-till and cover crops, but that's what the chemical company, or that's what they're saying, because they obviously, I'm not putting it down. I'm saying it's a step in the right direction, but it's got to be more than that. It's not adequate enough. And look at the rate of cover crop adoption. It is so terrible. It'll take forever, given the pace it's going.
Ron, so we have one more
Yes.
question from Catherine Tyler. So one time you mentioned that you got $600 per bushel, per acre. Was that gross return or what, net return?
Yeah, that was gross. But now, this year with 54 bushel soybeans and let's just say $20, that's $1,080 an acre gross. I used to figure our costs when I was more involved with PFI economic trials, but I can't give you an exact figure on what our net would be every year.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very significantly higher than conventional agriculture, of course, because we're not using any more energy, for instance, on our farm than a chemical farmer is, because they got the cost of application and fertilizer application and the cost of the energy that goes into the production of nitrogen and into the fertilizer and the chemicals, whereas we have the cost of applications with our tractors, of course, or all the, would I love to be a completely no-till organic farmer where I wasn't cultivating? Yes, that is the ultimate goal. It's going to take some time to get there. We may never get there. And I know there's a new label now. I just heard this last night, a regenerative label that says you have to be complete no-till organic. Yeah, complete no-till organic with no pesticides. Good luck. Good luck on that one. I'd hate to see what your weed pressure is going to be like. Unless you're smarter than I am, which I'm sure there's a lot of smarter people out there than I am. That's for sure. But I'm saying it's not going to be easy to do it on a significant acres. Yeah, you might be able to do it on small plots. Of course, you can go out there and pull them. Not in our case where you got 175 acres of beans and 175 acres of corn or more, 200 acres sometimes.
Good. Any other questions for Ron? Ron, your camera is off somehow.
What's that?
Your camera is turned off. Your camera is off somehow. We can't see you.
Oh, it's off. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Where did it go? Oh.
Maybe. I think it's fine. Any other questions?
I don't know why I went off.
Yeah.
This, Glenn, are you related to Mary?
I'm very related. She's my favorite relative.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yes, Mary's my wife.
Oh, okay.
She's my favorite relative.
There you go. Great. Well, now I'm seeing some more people. Jody Hayes and I don't know why I Canair.
Jenner.
Yeah, I'm Jenner.
So many of the agronomy department is so much more international now, isn't it?
I feel
Thankfully,
that
yes.
there are so many international people, including me. So
Is that true, Kendall? That are there less United States students?
I don't think so. I think we have just less total students. I mean, I've been here a long time, you know, and as you can tell, and when I came here, you know, we had about 150, 60 students in the building. About a third of them were international. And now we have about 100, and I say about a third of them are international, you know, plus or minus, right? I mean, it fluctuates.
Wow.
So I think just everybody's gone down. That's probably funding related mostly, but.
Of